Topic. There are 3 ways to solve a quadratic equation. The first way is by factoring, which we did last unit. The second way is by quadratic formula, which is what we did this week. The third way is by completing the square. Have we done parts of completing the square already? Yes, we did. So we've already done some of this. It's going to be a little bit of review. It's a little bit new at the same time. But some of it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I remember doing that. I remember doing that. It's going to be okay. So your quiz will have probably all 3 types. Factoring is number 1. For some weird reason, you guys cannot factor when A is not 1. So as soon as A is not 1, you guys stop and you're like, I don't know what to do. It's the same thing as when A is 1, but you stop, and I don't know why. So that will probably be on your quiz because that's not okay. On Monday, you'll have a review worksheet. It's going to have you solve some by factoring, some by quadratic formula, and some by completing the square. Okay? Okay, let's make a little note for completing the square. Oops. When do we complete the square? I only care about you completing the square in 1 option. When A is 1 and B is even. Okay? So I only want you to complete the square when A is 1 and B is even. If A is not 1 and B is not even, then don't complete the square. You're going to either factor or you're going to use quadratic formula. Okay? So only when A is 1 and B is even will complete the square. Otherwise, you're going to either factor or use quadratic formula, depending on the problem. Okay? Examples. All right, first example is x squared plus 4x plus 9 equals 0. We are going to write steps along the way. Now I'm going to reference Monday's notes a lot. So I'm going to tell you to go back to Monday to look at Monday's notes. So what I want you to do is go look at Monday's notes and figure out what's the first step I did. What's the first step I did? Put it down. Hold it. Welcome. What's the first step I did? I what? I thought I heard it. What did I do? I didn't divide by anything. I did what with C? I subtracted C. Okay? So I need to subtract C here. So the first step is to move C. I put move in parentheses because it's not really moving it. We're really doing the inverse operation. To the other side. All right, I need to move C to the other side. So what's the inverse operation for C here? Subtract what? Subtract 9. All right, so let's subtract 9. we're going to get x squared plus 4x. We're going to leave a space equals with 0 minus 9. Negative 9. All right. Now, I'm going to refresh your memory. We did it on Monday as well. We're ignoring this whole piece over here, yes? We're only looking at x squared plus 4x. We're trying to complete a square. So remember, when you're completing a square, and we have x squared, 4x's, how do we make it a square? Right now it's not a square, it's a what? It's a rectangle, so how do I make it a square? Move 2 of them under, oops, pretend that's positive. Like that, right? And fill in the rest with how many? 4. We'll pretend I have the other one. I don't know where it's at. It's probably, I don't know where it's at. Yes? Pretend they're positive. I can't flip them over right now. And then you have 1 missing, but we have 4 here. Make sense? Remember this? We went over this again on Monday. We've done this multiple times. Okay? That's exactly what we're doing here. So we're adding how much to it? You just told me we're adding 4. Well, whatever I add there, I add to the other side because it's an equation. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So what was that operation I just did? So let's refresh our memory by looking at it and not writing. We had 4 x's. You told me to take how many of them? 2. Why 2? I heard someone say it. You divide by what? Divide by 2. So if it was 6, would I have 4 up here? No, I'd have how many? And the other one would go down here. Yes? Remember? Okay, so you're taking the middle term and dividing it by how much? By 2. And we got 2, right? And then what did we do with that number? You square it to get how much? 4. And is that the number I added on both sides? Yes, it is. Okay. Oh, go back to my picture. So step 2 over here is b divided by 2 squared. And I'm going to say add to the space and the other side. Add to the space and the other side. Okay? Good? All right, I'm going to rewrite it really quick for clarifying reasons just so we can see it in a nicer. So x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals negative 9 plus 4 is how much? Negative 5. So from here to here is just the simplified process. Okay, just want you to know. All right, so all I did was simplify. Now, ignoring this side again, we are looking at just this side. Do you understand? So we're only looking at the left-hand side. Since I'm only looking at the left-hand side, I'm asking myself, now go back to my box. Pretend I have the 4 terms down here. You want me to throw them in? It's probably easier. I lost one of them. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's refresh our memory. Okay, if it looks like this, after we broke it up and we filled in the box, what did we do next? Who remembers? So we did this. We started out before with just x squared plus 4x, and we said plus something, right? And you guys told me that we added 4 here because that's what you got here. And then we did something squared. Where does that come from? Where does it come from? Okay, go back to completing the square notes. Find them. I completed the square into vertex form back in October? September? 9 what? 9/18. Go back to 9/18. Unplug your phone and put it away. What did we do on 9/18? We went from here. We did that, right? We got here. Do you see it? You have more paper. You probably have pictures on your paper too, because I told you to draw out pictures. Do you remember this? Told you to draw out pictures, and we did it again. We divided by 2. We squared it. We wrote it here. Do you remember? So what do I write down? Where is it coming from? It's how do we get there, though? I don't want the formula of x minus h squared. How do we get there? How do we get there before that? We completed the square, and then what did we do? What do you have to tell me based on this? What is this length? What is this length? What is this length? I will stand here all day. What is this length? You don't have to have homework time. It's fine. None of you know the length of it. Okay, go back and figure it out. Figure out how we're going to go from here to the length. Go look. Go look at Monday. Draw it in the side of Monday. I already did b over 2. Go look at Monday in the margin. Dakota, where's your notes for Monday? Get them out. That's why you need a notebook. We wrote it on Monday. You drew a picture on Monday. What's the length? Here. What's the length here? Careful. 2. What's the length here? What's the length here? So what does this give me? X plus 2. What does this give me? X plus 2. So that's x plus 2 what? Squared equals -5. So for step 3, that's really factor the left side. Obviously, you guys don't remember. So you get to factor instead. Side note, over here, x squared plus 4x plus 4. You don't get to do no shortcuts. You actually have to factor. What's A? 1. What's B? What's C? On top of your x. How do you get 4? Multiply what? A and C. What's on the bottom? 4, because it's your B. What 2 numbers multiply to give me 4 and add up to give me 4? 2 and 2. Okay, draw it in the box. X squared, positive 2x, positive 2x, positive what? 4. What can I pull out of x squared and 2x? How much? X. What can I pull out of 2x and 4? How much? 2. That's just a squiggle. What can I pull out of x squared and 2x? What can I pull out of 2x and 4? Oh, wait. Isn't it the same dimensions of my box? Of my tiles? Oh, isn't that look like my tiles? Yep. So I get x plus 2 and x plus 2, which is x plus 2 squared. You're going to factor. So that means you're adding this whole process into your homework then. Okay, over here, how do I get rid of a squared? Divide is not how you get rid of a squared. What does it mean to be squared? Square root is the inverse of squared. Square root. If I square root the left-hand side, what do I get? Grades are going to fall in this class. If I square root the left-hand side, what do I get? Just x plus 2. If I square root the right-hand side, what do I get? What was it? Positive what? Oh, no. Yeah, but we'll get there in a second. But before that, what do I write? When you take the square root of something, what is it? Okay, what's the square root of 4? Nope. Plus or what, 2? Oh, plus or minus 2. So what do I do with the square root of 5? Negative 5. Plus or minus square root of negative 5. Now I need to fix the square root of negative 5. Square root of negative 5 is just the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 5. What is the square root of negative 1? I. What is the square root of 5? Oh, square root of 5. Do I get to do anything different? So I'll get the door for her, please. No. So then I get x plus 2 equals plus or minus what? I radical 5. Now what do I do? What's the goal here? Read the essential question. What's your goal? To what? Completing the square, but to solve for what? Solve quadratics. What do I solve quadratics for? What do I look for? The x. So the x-intercepts. So if I'm going to solve for x-intercepts, what do I need to solve for? Solve for x. So how do I solve for x? Oh, subtract 2 on both sides. X equals, does 2 really subtract or does it just move over? Just moves over. So we get negative 2 plus or minus I radical 5. Let's list the goals since most of you don't know the goal. The goal is to solve for x, which are your x-intercepts. That's what you guys just told me. That's true. You're solving for x, which is your x-intercepts. So if I'm going to solve for x, I need to have x-intercepts, right? So x equals. Now, I don't know where I is because I don't graph on the complex plane, so I don't really know where it's at. But I do need to finish step 5 and step 6. After we square rooted both sides, what did we do with the radical? Did we leave it exactly the same? No, what is it called? What's it called to break it down? We have to factor, but I don't like the word factor because then I don't want to think of the x factor. I know what you're talking about, though. So let's say simplify the radical. because I don't want people to think they had to use like the x factor. So simplify the radical. Dakota said break down. That works too. Then after I broke it down and I solved for I radical 5, what did I do the last step? How? It's the last step. Subtract the 2. Why did I subtract 2? What? Why are you not adding 2? Oh, inverse operation. And what did you say, Angel? Of the constant to solve for x. Inverse operation of the constant to solve for x. Okay, I'm going to give you a new problem. X squared minus 6x minus 5 equals 0. X squared minus 6x minus 5 equals 0. What is the rules for completing the square? First two rules. One is what? No, not what do I do. What are the rules for completing the square? A equals 1, and B is what? Even. Is A 1? Is B even? Okay, so can I complete the square? Yes. I'm going to go do steps 1 and 2. So go complete steps 1 and 2. Hurry up. Check with the neighbor, see if you got step 1 and 2 done. That's all you had to do is step 1 and step 2. Ready? All right, first step is to do what? Move C. How are we moving C? You're going to add 5 to both sides. So x squared minus 6x leaves a space equals positive 5. Yes? Okay, next step. B over 2. So divide this by what? By 2, which is how much? Negative 3. And then we what? Square it, which is how much? 9. We bring 9 here and where? And the other side. Who had that? Okay. Now what's next? Let me rewrite it so it looks nicer. X squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 14. Yes? Okay. What's the next step? To factor. Go factor for me. That's what I need to put in my phone. Remind me to bring tissues. Reminder. Bring tissues. I'll remind myself at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock? I should be home by 3. What happened to it? Where did it go? Why you yell? Don't yell. Don't yell. I thought I said remind me at a location. I put my location on. 40 seconds. When I arrive. Not at 12, at 3. Okay, there it is. Do we factor? What did you get? I'm going to give you a hint. Something squared. What is it? X what? Minus 3 quantity squared equals 14. How many of you actually took the long time to factor? Okay. Who remembers where shortcut come from? Which is what number? Yeah, right there. That's why I drew out the boxes, remember? Okay, now what? Square root it. So what do I get on the left? X minus 3 equals, what's on the right? Plus or minus square root of 14. Does 14 simplify? 2 and 7. Does it simplify after that? No. Does that help me? No. Okay, now what? I heard it. Add what? Add 3. So I get x equals what? 3 plus or minus radical 14. The less you participate, the less your mind is working. Active learner versus passive learner. Active learner what? What do? Try. Attempt the problem by yourself and participate. Passive learner is the one waiting for me to what? Give you the answer and write it down. Okay? You are going to be a passive learner. I can be a passive learner all day, right? I can go to someone's class. I can write down everything they wrote. Did it comprehend in my brain? Nope. It's kind of what happened to me in, like, history. Okay? I'm not lying. My history teacher, there was 4 chalkboards, because, you know, there wasn't always whiteboards in classes. And she went from one board to another board to another board to another board. And then guess what she did? Went back to the first board and erased it. And then wrote again. And wrote it every day. Guess how much U.S. history I learned? Not a whole lot. Because all she did was write, and all I did was copy. Okay? Bless you. Okay, you're going to try letter C. X squared minus 10x plus 4 equals 0. Is it okay to make a mistake? Yes. It's better than just sitting there. X squared minus 10x plus 4 equals 0. Remember, what are the 2 things that must be true before you even start to complete the square? A equals 1 and B is even. Is that true? All right, so start to complete the square. It's okay. Are you sick now too? Are you sick too?
Allergies.
You take allergy medicine?
Yeah.
You might gotta switch it up. Ready? What was an answer? Nobody is brave enough to say they have an answer? One of you? Okay. How many of you are... Two of you. Who's stuck? Okay. Where are we stuck? After dividing by 2, did you square it? Gotta do that first. It's b over 2, and then you square it. Dakota, where are you stuck? You factored? What did you get after you factored? Are you talking about the factoring box?
Yeah.
Whatever you get when you're done factoring goes back into your problem. So you have to finish factoring. Did you finish the box?
Yeah.
And you pulled out all the stuff? And what's your answer there? Mm-hmm. Careful of your signs. So let's check our signs. Okay, what do we get? Where do we start? First step, subtract 4. So I'm going to get x squared minus 10x, leave a space, equals what? Negative 4. Now what? Divide negative 10 by what? Which is how much? And then you square it, which is how much? 25. You bring 25 up here and to the other side. Very good. Good so far? I'm going to rewrite it so it's nicer. So x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals 21. Yes? Okay. Now over here I have to factor. So some of you factored, and others of us remember in our brains that we're taking it and we're looking at the dimensions. And what are our dimensions of each side? What is it? X minus 5 what? Squared equals 21. Then what? Square root it. Oops, that should be on the outside. So what do I get? X minus 5 equals plus or minus root 21 because it doesn't factor tree. Then I do what? Add 5. And x equals 5 plus or minus radical 21. Who has that? Okay. If you factored on the side, you should have had a is 1, b is negative 10, c is 25. You should have positive 25 on top, negative 10 on the bottom. Then you should have negative 5 and negative 5. Yes? X squared minus 5x minus 5x positive 25. Here's where you should have x negative 5, x negative 5, x minus 5, x minus 5, x minus 5 squared, which is that. True? How many of you actually factored? Okay. Is it wrong to factor? Nope. It's really what you're doing. Questions? Does this make sense? All right, I'm done. Take your paper, get a piece of paper, fold it up into 4 boxes.